So welcome back. Last episode, if you saw the actual trip to Roanoke or near the Newcastle area, you saw me talking about getting a late start because of the situation with the front brakes. Well, I'm going to fix that today. I did strip a Torx bit actually on the rotor on the passenger side. Driver's side went fine. Actually got that one taken care of. Got the brake pads and rotor changed on that. Got the brake pads changed on the passenger side. I actually had to use the stock rotor, which I did not like, but it did take care of my shimmy. But today we're actually going to go ahead and get the rotor changed out. Ideally, that's not what I'd like to do, but it's only been about a week and I don't think there's been any problems in a sense with the rotors warping or anything like that. So I want to go ahead and get it taken care of. I want to be able to show you actually how to do that if you've actually stripped a Torx bit and actually just show you a complete job of the front brakes. Now on that, of course, you won't necessarily see of how to actually do the sensor because the sensor's on the driver's side. I do have some clips from last week that I'll include in this video, and I might actually start this video out there. So anyways, you would probably seen by this point, you've seen the video from my trip to Roanoke and me discussing the situation, what happened. But it was pretty painful and cumbersome. So if you're actually going to use this, get the Torx bit out of the rotor, they do say actually after you remove it, you don't necessarily need it if you actually have studs in your wheels, and the Colorado does. I did order some replacement Torx bits that should fit from Amazon. I may use them, I'll see if they fit. If they don't fit, I'm not really worried about it. I'm not gonna put them on there super tight, I'll put them on there tight enough. I may just leave them completely out, we'll just see. The wheel actually will hold the rotor to the hub. The bolts are actually made essentially for manufacturing to hold it to the rotor to the hub as it's going down the assembly line. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna get the Colorado jacked up in the air with the bottle jack. And then we're gonna get the passenger wheel removed and go ahead and get the brakes removed. So let's go and get started. For anybody joining for the first time, I always use this point right here with the bottle jack. It's one of the stock jacking points. It seems to actually work pretty well. And you really just want your wheel enough to get off the ground so you can spin it. You don't want it up super high. You don't have to have it up super high. So next we're gonna take the wheel off and go and get the pads and the caliper off, and that'll allow us to get to the rotor. So since we knew it was going to be a problem anyways, I went ahead and just left this on right here. Just went ahead and left it on. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in. This is extractor from, as you can see, is an Lyle extractor, strip screw extractor set. So I hammered this one in. This is the set right here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the sixth one up. And this is, again, a T30, and it was stripped out pretty bad. And again, I knew that this was going to be an issue, so there's no point in taking the caliper off. I'm just going to try to remove this prior, because the caliper will hold the actual rotor to the hub. It won't be any problem. So if we get this out, we can go ahead and take the caliper on off, and then go ahead and finish replacing the rotor and go from there. I'm going to try to hook up my impact gun to this, but it's got a little bit of a different attachment here, so we'll figure that out in just a sec. To be honest, it didn't work, but it made it big enough to be able to hopefully fit a T40 in there. So we're gonna try the T40 with it, and now I can actually put the impact driver on there, and it should work. So let's try that and see. So we're gonna try this, guys. No luck. Okay, next step. After some fighting, it finally came out. I don't know if you can see that. My goodness. This design is horrible. I wish I could have got a video of me getting that out, but I was just so frustrated with it. I'm not gonna put it back in there. I got some more to put back in if I want to, but Lord, I had to step up to this size thing and actually make just some more, basically some more threads in the top of it, as you can see, to get it out. And I used my, this thing honestly right here is not that great. I bought it to actually just, try to take wheels off with, but there's not enough torque. That's fully charged, as you can see, and it just doesn't have a lot of torque. But what I did is my mistake that I was making, I'll be honest with you. So if you do this and use something like this, make sure you just slowly give it a little bit of push in on the back side and just slowly give it some torque, because otherwise it doesn't work. And the other thing I was having, which is using your wrench like this, I couldn't, because every time I'd try to turn it, the rotor is moving. So anyways, we got that out. So next thing we're gonna do is take this caliper off, which thank goodness, and we're gonna get this rotor out and put the new one in. That took forever. I hate taking those out. I I really don't know if I'm gonna put the other ones back in or not. We're gonna wait and see. I don't know if it's worth it. With all that trouble, especially if they strip out like that. I know, let me look at that one right quick. I didn't lose it. Well, I'll let y'all know, but I bet it had some thread locker in it, which I say is honestly probably a good idea if you're gonna use them. But I don't know what type of thread locker they were using. I think that you would need to use a light application, nothing severe. But again, I think that this is used mainly just for manufacturing as they're going down the assembly line to hold the rotor on. Your wheel's honestly gonna hold your rotor on, because with my Mustang, it never had anything like this. I've never really seen a car that has these. My WRX never had a bolt going through the hub like that to hold the rotor on. Whenever I'm doing a brake job, what I usually do to hold the rotor on while I'm getting the caliper back on is just thread in one of these, of course, your lug nuts, and it'll hold your rotor on just fine. I get it as it's going down the assembly line, it's a lot easier probably to use that small little screw, but I'm not sure if I'll put it back in or not. We'll decide that when we get there. Let's go ahead and get a 21 here for the caliper bolts and get those two out. But first, I guess, honestly, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. We need to get these clips out, and it's kind of similar to my Mustang. They aren't that bad. You got to take these little clips out right here, which those are also somewhat of a pain. Use some needle nose pliers, make sure not to lose these. I actually had to reorder a couple for the driver's side. They're not really necessary to use. I took them through the off-roading just about a week ago, of course, and that brake pad stayed in just fine. But just for safety's sake, I do want to put them back in for long term. But we're going to take those back out right quick, get the pins out, get this all taken apart, and get the caliper off. I'll be right back. First thing you got to do, of course, like I said, is remove these clips. They're very easy. Well, as I mentioned, they're actually kind of hard, but just be easy with them coming out. Now, I've already actually greased these pins earlier, which is a big problem in the Colorados because they did not come greased. We'll re-grease them though this time as we take them back out. So you pull up, hopefully just be easy, and I'll show you them in the camera. They're very small. So put those aside. Make sure, again, don't lose those. This one's at a weird angle. That's great, isn't it? So I must have messed that up. Putting it back in. Let's see if I can get that back out though, somehow without ruining it. Don't know how I managed that. Unless it's turned somehow. There it comes. Yeah, maybe. Well, fail. But I got it. So again, just put those to the side. There's those two. Next thing you want to do is get a pick and your hammer. Just, a simple little rubber hammer works. We'll start with the bottom because I'll have to move that top camera in just a second because it's in the way. And these clips, I'll tell you, they're not as easy as the Mustangs. They're kind of set up really strange. And I do recommend taking a picture of this before you start. I have one. So I know what it looks like going back in, but take a picture because it's set up kind of strange. When they're greased, they come out just a little bit easier, but not a whole lot. Let me move you back just in a second. Maybe I can actually leave you there. I just got to kind of move it. Maybe. Well, I don't know if you can see much there or not, but we're going to leave you right there for a second. Okay. Watch out for your brake hose with the pick, of course. Don't puncture it. No, it sucked. And there it comes loose. So then you can take your pins out, put them to the side. You'll reuse those. And you won't have to necessarily reuse these. Your kit should come, your brake kit should come with new ones. I'll be reusing them today because this is the new ones. I probably won't clean them up. They're a little bit muddy from the trip last weekend, but they'll be fine. But again, make sure you take a picture of this. I'll show you where they go. The orientation. So there's that side. Hope you can see. And if you can see that side, I can't really see. Let me get you around. Right there you are. There's that one. So to get this out, all you're gonna do is just squeeze, or you can actually be easy. I wanna reuse these because I don't have another one. And there you go. All right. Now you just gotta take it off. This varies. Some people actually try to take the brake pads out first, and that's fine. You can take the caliper off first if you're having difficulty. I'm gonna try to take the brake pad out because I just had it out last weekend. So let's go and do that. It might come out, it may not. And if not, I'll just take the caliper off, no big deal. All right, so it's gonna struggle just a little bit, so we'll get the caliper out first. I don't wanna mess anything up. You'll wanna actually disconnect your sensor because it's kind of in the way. Because you want to be able to get to your actual bolt here, your caliper bolt, and it's only going to be able to be easy enough if the sensor is out of the way. So let me go ahead and disconnect the sensor so I can get my wrench to this. So for anybody wondering about that, I was struggling with it, but it's a stupid thing. You actually push in, you pull up on this, you pull up, and then push in on the gray part, and then pull down on your sensor plug, and it'll come right out, okay? So if you're struggling, pull up, push in, and pull down, and your sensor will come right out. So let's go ahead and get the caliper off. And again, that is going to be a 21 millimeter on your caliper bolts, and we'll loosen them up. And you may be better off, you got to move. You might have to move these out of the way, but this one actually wasn't too bad. I was able to just kind of move it back just a little bit. You won't mess it up. Make sure you're going the right way with this before you begin. You don't want to tighten things up. You want to be able to loosen it. Okay. Now this might be a little bit tighter than what it was for me. It calls for quite a few foot-pounds there. Okay. Get this bottom one. And then I'm gonna get a hanger to hang the caliper on before we take it all the way off. Okay, there's those two loose. Okay, before I begin get anywhere else with this, I'm gonna get a hanger right quick to hang the caliper up with. As you take this bolt out, whichever was your last bolt, it is quite heavy. Yeah. Okay, caliper should come right out. Now the rotor being loose, gotta watch out for it too. Make sure it doesn't fall off on you. I'm gonna push it back with my knee. I was gonna take these brake pads out. Keep in mind your orientation. Your squealer will go towards the engine side. Make sure it's towards the engine side. And now we're gonna hang this up. And I'm gonna let it hang from, I think I have enough room. Let's see here, guys. We're gonna push it up there and let it hang there, yes. You can hang it from your, let me move your camera. Hang from this arm right here. And there you go. All right, so the next step. It's pretty simple. We know we're not gonna reuse this rotor. So what I'm gonna do now, just very simply, it's very loose, which is awesome. We're just gonna pull it right out. And that's what you're left with. We're gonna get a wire brush and we're gonna clean this up right quick, just a little bit before we prepare our new rotor and put the new rotor on. All right, we're not gonna do a whole lot of cleaning on this, just a little bit of getting the rust off before we put the new rotor on. It is quite dirty, I would say, or it's got some mud and some, surface rust. So guys, I always use this Evolution coated rotors. They're not too expensive, but they last really well. They have a good coating, they won't rust, and they get wet. So I didn't want to use a drilled and slotted rotor for an off-roading vehicle. So these are blanks, what you would consider blanks. We will take some brake cleaner. That hole or not, which is right there. Let me go get the replacement bolts that I got from Amazon. Let's see how they fit. Let's see what they look like, the quality. Then we'll go from there. I'm going to put a lug nut, like I normally would, here to hold it just until I get back with the other bolt, make my decision. Okay, 1 second. So here are the new bolts from Amazon. Let me see if I can focus in. They're supposed to fit. We're gonna open them up and see. They look a little bit big, and if so, that's okay. Like I said, I don't necessarily have to use them. We can compare them to our stock one, wherever it went. And if you order from Amazon and you plan on reusing this, it ain't gonna work. Hold on 1 second, let me see if I can get that focused in. As you can see, it's too big. So that's okay. Like I said, you don't have to reuse it. I'm gonna put the caliper on with the brake pads, or the caliper on, push the caliper back in, and then we'll put the caliper back on, and we'll hold the rotor. We'll leave this here just long enough so we can actually keep it to where we can put the caliper back on, and the caliper will keep it held in place. I'll be right back. Anytime before you put a caliper back in, or push the calipers back in, you want to open your brake fluid reservoir and leave it open just so you can push up the brake fluid from that caliper and it won't put pressure back on the caliper pistons. So next we're going to try to actually get the caliper pistons back in their place. Just since we have a new rotor, we have the same brake pads, it shouldn't have to go back in much. They've already been pushed in last weekend, but we'll do that. I have this tool right here. I hope you can see. Goodness, let's see if I can get you a better angle. The camera's awful close. Let me move you over here maybe. There we go, maybe. At a little bit of an angle. Okay, so what we'll do is you put the tool in. This is a 4-piston caliper tool. I've been using it for my Mustang. You should be able to get them all in at the same time. You kind of put it at a little bit of an angle. And just push it back in. And make sure you don't overflow your reservoir, and you shouldn't, because your reservoir should go down at the same time your pistons go in. Honestly, I don't think you have to do a brake fluid flush. I haven't noticed any problems that I haven't. I will eventually because I can. It's not that big of a deal. But right now I think it's fine. So they're all in, they're good. So now all we have to do is put the caliper back in its place, and that should hold our rotor in place. And then we'll put our brake pads in. Okay, so we'll take this down off the hanger. I would say that this is honestly the time that's nice to have that little bolt. These don't fully go flush because I know that the actual wheels are pretty thick, so they push against the rotor once they're on. But I think we'll be fine once we get this on. Or started, I should say, at least. Of course, you want to make sure you don't strip your caliper retaining bolts. These do feel like they're a little bit more snug than what you would anticipate. I thought the same on the driver's side, but they came out fine. Just make sure they're not stripping, of course. So what we're gonna do next is we are gonna put the brake pads back in place. I'm gonna actually re-grease those just a smidge. So let me go get some grease and I'll be right back. Now we're gonna get the pads ready. And the way I'm gonna do that, there is an outboard and inboard. And as you know, the driver's side, we have to put the actual brake sensor, so that where you put the brake sensor, it's gonna be on this side. Let me show you here. It's gonna be towards the actual engine side. So that's where your squealer is gonna be. So we will make sure that we put it on the driver's side, or on the engine side, and then we're gonna put it in, and then we'll put the actual sensor in once we get actually the pad in. But first, like I said, we have to get them lubed up on the back, and then we'll get the pad into the actual caliper. And once we get both of those in, we'll get the pins and everything lined up, and then we'll put the sensor in. As you can see, they're already greased, but you want to put some where the pistons push in. So we'll put a little bit more there again. Make sure you got quite a bit of grease there. Not over grease, but just enough. I put some there, and put some at the bottom, where the other piston is. And then I also like to put some at the very bottom where it's going to be touching, anywhere the piston or the caliper is going to be touching. This one has the squealer. So the squealer, of course, since you want the pad to touch the rotor, it's going to go right here on the top side, on towards the motor side. Slide it right in. Okay. Then we'll take our other one, do the same thing. These are PowerStop pads. I'm sure I've shared that already, and maybe some other clips here from on the driver's side, the ones I threw in. They're Z36 pads. I did not get the Z36 kit because I wanted the blank rotors. I didn't want the Z17 pads for up front because I felt like I needed a little bit more stopping power. Now I may get the Z17 pads for the back, just to make it a little bit simpler. I don't think you really need as much in the back as you do the front. I could be wrong, but we'll see. I'll probably get the Z17 kit. It's not very expensive at all. It's about time, I think, for the rears. But let's go ahead and throw this one in. Okay. Next, we're going to clean our pins back up and throw them in. These don't have to be perfect. I mean, just as long as they're clean enough. And then we'll put some grease on them. And from my understanding from factory, that was the problem with these. They weren't greased, and it caused sometimes the inner pad to wear faster than the outer pad. Now mine, they were actually pretty even. I think the reason mine was shimmying a little bit was because just the rotor was warped. Probably because of the water forging I'd done in the past. Maybe just some towing, I don't know, the Mustang, who knows. The rotor quality, sometimes with GM, I've noticed that in previous cars, isn't the best. Stock rotors, a lot of times, just aren't the best. Just depending on the use case scenarios of what you're using your vehicle for, can make a big difference. So, what we're going to do next is put our You gotta make sure you have these holes lined up. Put your pin through the holes. Now with the pins, the more grease, not really, it's okay. I mean, if you use a lot of grease, it's absolutely fine. There's no problems with that. I am using the PowerStop grease. I have some others that I've used in the past I've actually had good luck with. But I'll just use this currently. It's worked fine on the Mustang that I used last time. I had any problems out of it, and I haven't had problems out of it so far since I've replaced the fronts on the other side or this side. The holes in the back lined up so you can put your pins through. But you don't put your pins through yet. You put your actual bracket on first. But your bracket, my gosh, it's a pain. To be completely 100% honest. It is not fun to put in. But I can put, there's a couple places right here you might want to put some grease. These touching points. That should keep the any squeaking down possibly. Just want to make sure you don't get it on the pad. You don't want to put a ton. Like I said, anything that touches your pad, you want to put a little bit of grease, just a little bit, not a ton. Like I said, if you put a ton, you're gonna have a bad day. But it doesn't hurt to have just a smidge there, because that is going to be touching. You put this bottom side in first. Well, actually, wait, sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. First, you got to put this in. And if you remember how I showed you how it goes above this bar. And there's just little holes in the back you got to get them through. And this is what keeps your pads in place, top, or keeps them actually separated when you're braking. You have to make sure that these hooks are going right here. And this bottom hook, of course, is in the middle. Top hook has to be in the middle too. These side pieces have to be on the sides of this pad. This is quite the struggle. Or at least it was the first time. It may not be that bad this time. We'll see. And going and putting this one on, this hook on first in the bottom is actually what I found to be the easiest to line it all up. You may find differently, and that's absolutely okay. You could try to go from the top. If you can, go for it. That may work for you, and that actually, that wasn't bad either. That worked. That worked. That's quick. So actually go from the top, get these in next, and then just push down on that. Made it very simple. Okay. All right, now next is our pins. They're stiff. The pins are very, very stiff. Take a lot of thumb pressure. Got the top one in, that was easy. Bottom one's being a little bit more difficult. There it goes, shoo. Got it back in. So now you're done. All you have to do really is put your wheel back on. Well, first, let's see it. Make sure if you push in the rotor and twist it, that there's not a lot of terrible noise, and there's not. So once the wheel's on, you're gonna be clear. And you wanna actually probably clean the rotor just one more time with some brake cleaner. Before you put your wheel back on. And after that, we're done. So hopefully that job wasn't too bad. It's not really a horrible job. After we get the wheels back on, that again, we're completed. We'll test drive it. We might bed them in. But again, I've driven on the driver's side now for a little bit of time. I'll be completely honest with the driver one, since I replaced the brake sensor. It has not reset to 100%. There's no way to reset it manually inside. I don't know necessarily if I do the rear pads, if it'll reset itself then, but right now, so far, I don't know if I disconnect the battery, if that'll do it. If you all have any suggestions, or if you've had any issues with this, just let me know. But I'm going to get the wheel back on and be done. Thank you all for watching. I hope this was helpful. Until next time. There's a little bit, I think there was a little bit of water in it, maybe some. Not a ton though.